So we are now mere days away from seeing Chelsea back in action in a pre-season friendly, firstly against Bayer Leverkusen, but also against AC Milan. What are the plans for Enzo Maresca? What are some of the big issues and question marks heading into the new season? Along with that, the arrival and confirmation of Estevao Willian and the plan for him in the upcoming season at Stamford Bridge. So we're going to be covering that in today's show because I think both are quite interesting. Obviously, both are linked. We awaited an actual announcement. They were kind of hiding Estevao from all the pictures. We spoke about that in yesterday's show, but they did announce it on Monday evening UK time, and we've got some interesting quotes to get through from Estevao himself, and also what could be the plan by Chelsea, because of course there is so much hype around him, and whether that is healthy, whether that is right. What will the first Estevao season at Stamford Bridge look like? I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below, because you may disagree with some of the things we're going to be speaking about here today, and other things as well, tactical, fitness wise, because of course as we get closer to the Premier League beginning, we're starting to see a lot of predictions. We're going to be doing predictions on this show as well about the Premier League, not just Chelsea specific. So subscribe if you like the sound of that. I want to start off generally with a piece by Liam Toomey from The Athletic, the brilliant Liam Toomey, who we've had on the show before. And basically the title of it, Chelsea are back in pre-season training. What are the issues must Enzo Maresca address? So he kind of breaks down a lot. Fitness, players coming in, players going out. Tactically, that is one of the big, I think, exciting question marks that we have been talking about and theorising about for quite some time now. Post the Club World Cup, how much of that tactical fluidity that we saw in America is going to transfer directly over to what we see in the Premier League, the 3-6-1, the three at the back, inside forwards. We're seeing some of the recruitment going on in the summer. Is that a hint towards that kind of interchangeability, chameleon-like ability of Chelsea to change game to game dependent on the opponent? And this is what Liam Toomey has to say. He said, the fundamentals will remain the same. Chelsea will line up in a 4-2-3-1. That one way or another becomes a 3-4-3 in possession with a box midfield. Beyond that, much will depend on opponents' strengths, weaknesses, and tactical approaches. I agree with this that I don't expect there to be radical change from the off. I think it's more about the way things are going to evolve during the course of the season. And it's why when I see discourse around this, people get so hung up on a starting 11. People get so hung up on, this is my 11, this is the way the 11 has to be. And you know, I did my predicted 11. A lot of you watched it recently, and I had some comments about it. And it's why I put variations within there, because I think in a season, in the way the game is right now, I mean, look at the majority of coaches, they like to rotate. And you're kind of forced to rotate as well. But I do agree that a 4-2-3-1 is an intriguing one, because I guess arguably it can kind of accommodate both type of player, especially in attacking sense that we're talking about. The inside forwards, the likes of maybe Xavi Simons arriving, where Cole Palmer can play João Pedro as a centre forward or off a centre forward. And you've got the likes of Jamie Gittins and Pedro Neto and Estevao Willian who can play wider, because we know even when we're setting up in a 4-2-3-1 with Palmer centrally, those wingers are still playing wide. They're not really playing as inside forwards. But in the 3-4-3, when that evolves, what sort of players are then you choosing? And I think it's good to have that variety within the squad that Maresca can look at his bench during the game and potentially switch things up. But one of the big questions is about Estevao. He is one of the players that has excited people for so long, and feels like we have been waiting at least a year since he was confirmed that he was coming to Chelsea. We had the official announcement last night where he was on that podium at Cobham. He was wearing the home kit. I think that home kit never misses. I really do think you could. I've seen that kit in a variety of shots now on the pitch. I think it's just a brilliant home kit. It was great to see Estevao. We're still awaiting, I think, at the time of recording, what number he's going to play in. I mean, there is some theory that maybe the number 11 could be one he takes. Is it going to be 41, the same number he played with at Palmeiras? Of course, we have Gittins, who played with 43 at Dortmund. Will we have a 41 and 43 in the new squad? That isn't as important. I think what's more important is how is he going to be used, and what are the internal expectations and plans for him by Enzo Maresca and Chelsea. Liam Toomey says that although, of course, supporters are intrigued, He arrives with considerable hype and, of course, played well against us, scored an incredible goal against us at the Club World Cup. There is a recognition within the club that the 18-year-old will need time to adjust to his new surroundings and adapt to English football. He will be eased in. And I think that final little bit, that final small sentence by Liam Toomey, I think is the most important thing. It's something I've been stressing for a long period of time, and I keep on making the clarification because I think some people think you're downplaying Estevao, you're downplaying his talent, his potential, what he could become in kind of a negative way. It's not really that at all. It's looking at a very, very young player moving into a completely new environment and not putting all of the pressure on his shoulders. And luckily, I remember having a question about this months ago. I mean, this is when things were going quite wrong for us in the season under Enzo Maresca, and the performances were bad, the mood around the club was bad, and at the time I was slightly worried about Estevao coming into the environment. Now, the good thing is things have perked up massively since then. So he's obviously coming into a much healthier environment, a group now that has won silverware, that have proven themselves that they can perform under pressure, a lot more experience under their belts, that those things are obviously important. So he isn't walking into a group that has come off the back of a really bad season. I mean, it's why, we talk about the bad environment at Man United. I wouldn't want Estevao walking into that environment this summer. However, I think he still needs to be eased in because there is going to be expectation, and I always do think that there is going to be that adaptation of playing the intensity of Premier League football, the scrutiny of Premier League football, and maybe just, the physicality of Premier League football. I don't think it's wrong to bring that up. That's not saying he can't overcome that, but if you took a young English player, an 18-year-old English player, and threw them over to Brazil, they would have to adapt to that style of football, and I don't think anyone would have any problems with that assessment or that expectation. So why is it different the other way? I think that is a fair point of view. Estevao himself gave a really good first interview. And I think one of the things that struck about this interview was just the amount of times he spoke about family and how much that means to him. This is what he had to say. I think my biggest motivation is to give pride to my family, not titles, not achievements, but for my family, because I know how much people have worked when we struggled to get where we wanted to go, where our dream was. So it was more for them that I persevered during my childhood, and I persevered to this day. Speaking on why he joined Chelsea, what some of the things that he liked about Chelsea, he said their plans, the structure in the club, everything, but mainly the plans and the project the club has is what interested me and my family, and I think it was the best decision we could have made. Then he spoke about kind of some of those previous Chelsea players he enjoyed watching, and Eden Hazard is the one he said he watched the most at Chelsea, which he said he's ace. That was his final quote about Eden. He absolutely was. And listen, if he comes anywhere close to what Eden produced in a Chelsea shirt, we will be very happy. And of course, there is a great heritage of Brazilian players at Chelsea. Thiago Silva, David Luiz, Ramirez, Oscar, Willian. And of course, he spoke about that. It's a pleasure to be here where so many Brazilians have made history. I hope to follow those. He also spoke about how after he signed for Chelsea, he had a conversation with the amazing Thiago Silva, and I thought this was quite interesting. He said, after I'd signed and in the final game of 2024 I played against Thiago Silva, he came and talked to me. He said I was going to love the club, which has an incredible structure and is an incredible club, and now I am here, I can see how amazing the club is. Nice of Thiago to be a little bit of an agent there as well and try and integrate Estevao to the club. And finally, standard question, he says about long-term goals at Chelsea. Want to win all the titles possible, the Premier League and the Champions League as well, and personally be the best in the world and keep working hard so that these dreams come true. I think there is room to be excited, and I think it didn't help in that tempering expectations really when he scored that goal against us, because that was probably the first time a lot of Chelsea fans had watched Estevao, because I would guess that many people had not stayed up late to watch Palmeiras regularly since we signed him. And of course, when he performed the way he did, we spoke on the channel how excited we were about the future of Chelsea and how, particularly off the right of Chelsea's attack, how he could become a real star. And I'm excited to watch him this weekend. I really do hope we see substantial minutes for Estevao along with a load of other young players. But it's how that works with integration. The good thing is I think we're in a healthier place now because Pedro Neto, I think, has been in really good form. Let's hope he continues that. if Jamie Gittins comes in and performs well early on, if you've got the likes of João Pedro continuing where he left off at the Club World Cup, and Cole Palmer starts the season off strongly, it will hopefully be a case where Estevao is not looked upon as kind of this saviour figure, which I feared we were going to be in if the season kept on being quite negative last year, because it felt like that's how people were bigging him up. If he becomes that, incredible. But I don't think it's wrong of the club to try and ease him in, and maybe he won't start a lot of games early on. And I don't think it's not for me an Andre Santos situation. Andre Santos is obviously an older player. He's played a lot of minutes at a European level as well, and I think also could play substantial minutes for us as well. I think with Estevao, I think it's understandable to try and protect him a little and not throw him into the fire. If he can cope with that and he proves himself and elevates and becomes a first teamer, great. We'll probably have some hot takes about him being player of the season. I'm sure we're going to have that in the upcoming days. And listen, we want to be excited about players, but I think how he could operate in a 4-2-3-1, a 3-4-3. We saw how he was used at Palmeiras, even in a front two, funny enough, actually against Chelsea. They're effectively playing, I think, a 3-5-2 in that game against us. So he has versatility. That's positive for Chelsea as well. And how he could work around the players within the environment. Because what you don't want is a scenario where, and I don't think we've got this now, where he's relied upon to kind of be the star. I think the good thing in the way Chelsea are trying to build their squad is it doesn't come down to one player. Because it kind of has in the past year or so, probably more than that with Cole Palmer. And when he isn't playing well, we've run into real problems. My hope is the squad is robust enough and dynamic enough that if Palmer has an off day, there are other players who will step up. So I want to hear your thoughts. Is Estevao the player you're most excited for this season? New player. Let's clarify that. New player. You can be excited, of course, with the players we already have. Are you happy that the club are taking a little bit of time to maybe integrate him? Or are you someone that thinks this is the real deal, this kid's the real deal, we got to be playing him from the off? I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. As I'm about to wrap up this podcast, I know they're doing the trophy celebration at Stamford Bridge. So if you're at that or you've been at that and now you're listening to the podcast on your way home, I hope you enjoyed it. We will be back on Thursday and, of course, Friday for the Bayer Leverkusen game and the AC Milan games. We'll be covering whatever happens in those. I believe Maresca is going to do a press conference. Hopefully we'll get some decent quotes out of him from there. But that's it for today's show. Please like, subscribe, share the video around with friends, share the podcast around with friends, and I'll see you again very, very soon. All the best.